Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's 1 million by 1 million online rendezvous. I'm coming to you live from Menlo Park, California, in the heart of Silicon Valley. And I know you are in all different parts of the world. So, greetings. I hope all of you are staying safe, staying inside, and maintaining social distance. 1 million by 1 million, as you know, is the first and only global virtual accelerator in the world. Our mission is to help a million entrepreneurs reach $1 million and beyond in annual revenue. And given the world we are in at the moment, this is going to be immensely important for us to come out of the slump that the global economy is going to go into, has already gone into actually. We are going to look to the entrepreneurs to pull us out of this nightmare. And it's going to take quite a lot of time to get things back in motion again, get things back on track again. So we're all going to have to contribute. We're all going to have to remain steady, shepherd our ships with steady hands. And I'm trying to do that on my end with my company. And I hope you're all, maintaining that steadiness. My experience of being an entrepreneur over the last 25 years is that it's very much a game of nerve. Is it a game of brilliance? I don't know. Being an entrepreneur, I think, is more a game of nerve, a game of trying to be as steady and resilient and persistent as possible through all the different curveballs that are going to come towards us, and be able to catch those balls, play with those balls, pass them right, and so on and so forth, as opposed to a game of brilliance. I'm sure there are many, many entrepreneurs out there who are also brilliant, but entrepreneurship is not a game where you have to come up with a new idea every day and that has to be brilliant and so forth. I think it's consistency, and it is being able to have the nerve to shepherd through this kind of troubled times. In my career, I have seen a few cycles. The first one was the dot-com crash of 2000. I was quite young at the time, and I was running a company, which I lost in that dot-com crash, and it was very painful. It was nerve-wracking, painful, but it was what it was, and it was a period when a lot of entrepreneurs lost their companies. Then again in 2011, the 9/11 attacks was another big slowdown period that came very soon after um, you know what we have seen before. And I'm sorry, I meant 9/11, the terrorist attacks. That was also a big slowdown period that soon came at the heels of the dot-com crash. The market was already slow, and it slowed down further in kind of like a double whammy. Um, then the 2008 crisis was another big one where a lot of entrepreneurs also lost their jobs. But all through that period, I've been covering entrepreneurship for a long time now. I started writing my blog in 2005. 1 million by 1 million was founded in 2010. So even that is 10 years back. The blog started in 2005. We started doing entrepreneur journeys, which is covering stories of entrepreneurs and how they've shepherded their companies through all these crazy curveballs. That's 15 years. I've done it for 15 years. So what I've seen in all that time of covering more than 1,000 entrepreneur journey stories is repeatedly that story of resilience. And there were a lot of great companies that started in these downturns. There were a lot of entrepreneurs who came out of those periods with great successes. And in a way, when you start something or you can shepherd something through a tremendous downturn, you come out with strong values and strong culture. You have a culture that knows how to withstand a severe blow from the macroeconomic conditions. I mean, there's so many that I can name. One of them is a company called Blue Nile that started in 1999, I think. And there was a .com, and they were selling diamonds online to men, engage diamonds for engagement rings. And they did manage to go through the .com crash. And then some years later, they were able to go public, and so became a successful e-commerce company, public e-commerce company of many hundred millions in revenues. And you know in today's parlance it would be called a unicorn. At the time, the unicorn terminology did not exist, but it was a .com that managed to get through the .com crash. So a really powerful, inspiring story of the fact that you can, with good business principles and good nerve, you can navigate through these kinds of experiences. Salesforce.com, one of today's best companies, I think, in the market, it was founded also in that time frame, in the 1999 2000 time frame, and did very well through all that, and had lots of early setbacks. I think 27 venture capitalists said no to Mark Benioff when he started. So, right now, I'm sure you're all going through the experience of investors shutting down on you. I will say this, that in our community of investors, we work with, some 300 investors. I've talked to many of them, and I've sent them deals in startups that they need to look at. And they've been extremely forthcoming, extremely willing to look at deals, give feedback, and, and many of them have told me that they would like to invest. Even in these times, they would like to fund good companies that have a good business model, good execution so far. They would like to find such companies. And one of them told me that they invested in a couple of companies during the 2008 financial crisis, and it has done. Those two companies have done very well. They're still investing in them, very large amounts of money, and those two companies are still doing really well. And he said, I would love to find another couple of companies like that during this downturn when a lot of people are frozen, but I would like to act. So this is just examples of people who are not losing their nerves. And that is the mark of a great entrepreneur. It is the mark of a great investor. And there are customers who are also going to be buying. People who don't freeze during tough times are the ones who come out ahead when the tough times are over, and they create lead for themselves in the market. That's very helpful. All of that, I think the reason I'm going into all these stories for you right now is I'm sure each one of you are facing tremendous anxiety. And that's normal. We're human beings. There is a tremendous death toll going on in the world. You're worried about your loved ones. I have parents in India, elderly parents. And I don't know if you know this, the Indian government right now has does not honor the OCI visa, Overseas Citizen of India, which is my status. I have an American citizenship and I have an overseas citizen of India status. And normally we have perpetual lifetime visas to visit India. Right now, our OCI visa status is frozen. We cannot visit. So, so one of my deep anxieties is if my parents get sick, what am I going to do? So that's just the scale of personal, macroeconomic, everything, all kinds of anxieties that are in our systems at the moment. But through that, I can tell you that I maintain a very regular work schedule. I don't think my team feels that I'm anxious or I'm falling apart. And that is what is called for from an entrepreneur. So if you are an entrepreneur listening to this, that is really what you're going to need to deliver for your team and your business, is that steadiness, is that nerve, is that calm. You have to project leadership, and the best leadership is calm, but not bullshitting, right? We are hearing a lot of bullshitting leadership on television every day. The great leadership we are seeing is Andrew Cuomo, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, who very calmly delivers facts. He's in charge. He's projecting confidence. He's projecting calm. He's not saying that everything is hunky-dory and we're going to be fine. He's actually saying right now things are really bad and things can get worse. Things are actually starting to get a little bit better. The curve is flattening a little bit in New York and in America in general. Perhaps there are other countries where curves are sharpening. But whatever, it is a very, very bad time. You know, this is not even a qualified statement. It is, we are in terrible times. So, you know, in 1 million by 1 million, we try to look at data and facts. We are not very good at sugarcoating things, so I don't intend to sugarcoat anything. Times are tough. Business is tough, but we're going to have to do what it takes to move the ball forward. So if you want to discuss your business with me, and I'm very happy and very available to do that for you, we do free public mentoring sessions every Thursday morning at 8 a.m. Pacific time. And please convert that into your time zone and figure out wherever you are, what does that mean? And go to our website, 1mby1m.com, sign up on the free public roundtable page, and I will be delighted to work with you on your strategy, on what you can do. Last week's session, actually, I was working with one of our premium members, and he had to change his complete strategy, go-to-market strategy. His plan, he makes Rahul Ranjan, the company's Palacio. The product is called Canva. Check it out. It's a very nice product. It's a photo frame, digital photo frame that looks like a real frame, and they have technology to project onto the screen art that looks real, looks like, if it's a painting, it looks like a real painting. And that he was planning to, he's already selling to consumers, but he was planning to do an enterprise strategy selling to hotels. Now, of course, right now the hotels are all completely falling apart. So there's no chance of that strategy working. So we are repurposing his strategy to sell to museums and to seek a partnership with one of our partners, 1 million by 1 million's partners, called Blackboard, who have access to museum clients. And the museums are also falling apart right now. Nobody is going to museums. So they need things, they need ways to survive, they need to generate revenues, and we believe that Palacio has a strategy with which they can offer a solution to these museums. So with that background, if you go listen to the recording of that session, It's on YouTube. It's on our YouTube channel, 1M Roundtables. It's the last roundtable that we just did. You will see how we are doing that pivot. It's a coaching session. It's a strategy consulting session. And that's part of the 1 million by 1 million program. So no matter what is it that you're facing, if you want to work with me, if you want to work with 1 million by 1 million, come to one of the free roundtables and let's get started and let's see what are your options. And I'll be very happy to help you with whatever it is that I can contribute strategically to help you figure out your next steps. So these sessions, normally I've already spoken for a while today, just to give you an overview, but in these sessions I also take questions. Normally, mostly what I do is take questions. We get questions from everywhere. So I put together a set of questions and I answer these questions during these sessions. I'll start doing that now. And in the meantime, you should feel free to write your questions into your public chat, wherever you're dialing into, whether it's LinkedIn Live, Facebook Live, or Twitter. You're very welcome to write in the questions and we'll pick them up. If I will interact with you after this session online, but if the question is a large question and we need to bring it into the session next time, I will do that as well. So feel free to ask your questions. All right, let's go to the first question. And that question is, how do you do business development for a tech business during the COVID-19 quarantine? Well, the first point I want to make is that you need to continue building relationships with your prospects. Whether it's your customers or your channel partners, you do need to continue building those relationships. You need to understand their pain points and you need to educate them about your solution and keep them engaged. They may not make the buying decision right away, but when things stabilize, you will have a mature pipeline. So I think the best thing you can do during these times is that pipeline building. This is my generic advice. And I'll tell you what I feel is that in normal life, everybody is running around like crazy. People have to commute, that takes up time. People have to go from meeting to meeting, that takes up time. People have to go fly to different places, whether it's conferences or business travel and so on and so forth, that takes time. Huge amounts of time and huge amounts of disruption. Right now, everybody is focused on their computers. They're focused on their families. They're focused on, people are having dinner together. People are having lunch together. People are spending time together. I know people with small children are doing a lot of puzzles and playing games and so forth. But the time that they are focused on their work, they are very focused. So my take is that I think you have more mind share of the people that you're trying to reach now than before. Take advantage of that mind share and build that relationship. Explain to your prospects what is it that you want them to know about you. You want to bring to focus the problem that you solve and bring to focus the solution that you have. And that is your pipeline building process. In 1 million by 1 million, we have a methodology that we use for B2B selling, that's Sales 2.0. We call that Sales 2.0. If you go to the 1 million by 1 million curriculum, our digital curriculum, under customer acquisition, there's a whole set of modules called Sales 2.0. That's the methodology that I would encourage you to implement. And that methodology is available through the 1M by 1M curriculum. Go to the website, look up 1M by 1M Basic, which is our curriculum only option. That will give you access. If you're in the premium program, you definitely have access to the curriculum. And start implementing that process if you haven't already. So that's on the B2B side. B2C is different. B2C business development is customer acquisition, and certain B2C business development is happening very well right now. E-commerce is booming. People are buying a lot, buying everything online right now. So, just to give you an example, one of the companies that I just did uh, in our email newsletter. If you subscribe to our email newsletter, by the way, if you are not subscribing and you want to subscribe, you can go to the website and do that. I just introduced a company to the world that we use, and I met this entrepreneur a while ago. His company is called the Butcher Box. So Butcher Box basically ships you a box of meat, a variety of absolutely top quality meat, and we use them. Right now, we use them more than before, and they're really fantastic quality product. This is a company that is completely bootstrapped, and they have not succeeded in raising money because the investors who invest in the food sector don't like to invest in perishable foods. So, but he's running a wonderful bootstrap business. And as you perhaps know from following my work, I'm a huge fan of bootstrap businesses. So this category, I think, is really, really attractive right now. The category of bootstrapped food businesses, be it perishable foods, it's very attractive at the moment because I think this is a secular trend that is going to continue beyond our world returning to a normal place. I think consumers are going to go into online grocery shopping a lot more, and we are probably looking at several years of this virus coming back, like the flu comes back. There will be vaccines, there will be treatment, but I think a lot of experts believe that this is not going to get eradicated, because it's not something that goes away completely. So it may become something like the flu, where you have to take vaccines, seasonal vaccines, and then you get versions of it. Some people get versions of it, and there will be treatments, there will be drugs. So people will probably not die from it, or not as many people will die from it, but it's not going to be a pandemic. But just like we have flu and flu season, and we have to be careful about that, this may become a perpetual factor. Now, it is a highly contagious thing. So, now that this trauma has been imprinted into our brains, are we going to completely get over the fear of getting it from somebody? How much of visiting crowded spaces are we going to be willing to do in the world that we are going to come out into after this nightmare, after we wake up from this nightmare? Remains to be seen. But I think online shopping is going to be dramatic in the world that we come out into. And therefore, think of e-commerce businesses. E-commerce businesses are going to do very well, I think. The next question I have is, what would be your steps to start a business during the COVID-19 quarantine? So it's a good segue. If you are currently thinking about starting a business, and whatever be the circumstances, maybe because you have time and you wanted to start a business all along, but you never had the time, you were so busy. Now you have the time and you're thinking about starting a business. Or it could be a forced situation where you've lost your job and you need to do something and you're thinking about starting a business. Either way is fine. You do have time right now. The first exercise to put yourself through is, what is the business idea that you want to work on? You may have burning passion for one idea. You may have 3 to 4 different ideas. You may have great domain knowledge in one particular field. All of the above are reasonable backdrops against which you can get started. There is a 1 million by 1 million self-assessment tool on our website. It's a free tool. Please use that to evaluate your idea. If you have more than one idea, test each of them against this tool and see which idea looks the strongest and the most promising. These are questions basically that investors use to evaluate an idea. Or if you go to pitch to investors with your business, they're going to ask you these questions and they're going to evaluate you and your business based on these ideas, these questions. So use the self-assessment tool to figure out if your idea is a go or a no-go. Sometimes you may have burning passion for an idea that cannot be monetized and you cannot really build a business around. Or maybe the competitive landscape is too crazy and there's no point getting into that market right now. So there are a variety of reasons why you may need to abandon an idea. I prefer that you do the right due diligence and abandon an idea early if it's a bad idea or an unviable idea than spend 2-3 years of your life and sink a lot of money and opportunity costs into it. If you get stuck as you're trying to answer the self-assessment questions, if you get stuck and you need that methodology training, you can look at the 1 million by 1 million basic program and study the digital curriculum. A first-time entrepreneur's journey is a very steep learning curve. You have to learn all these methodology elements, and you can learn fairly easily. Figure out how you want to learn. There are many ways to learn this. The 1 million by 1 million curriculum is one of them. And I think to answer directly the question, what would be your steps to start a business during this COVID-19 quarantine? Learning. The lockdown is a very good time to learn. If you can get the methodology under your belt, then you can apply that methodology to idea after idea after idea until you find one that you want to go execute on. So that's, those are my steps. I would say start with an idea. That idea may not be your final idea, and use methodology, learn methodology, use the self-assessment tool to start testing that idea and figure out how to play your cards. The next question is, what should tech entrepreneurs do during the COVID-19 quarantine? Well, I would say, just a minute, my voice is drying up. The question to ask is, what's in your control? Are customers willing to buy? If so, try to sell as much as possible. And this is the scenario with the e-commerce vendors, the startups, the entrepreneurs who are doing e-commerce. This may be the scenario. If customers are willing to buy, sell them. And figure out the supply chain to acquire the products that you need to sell them. Supply chains are also getting disrupted right now. So, I was just reading this morning, the global shipping industry is in a logjam because, a lot of people are quarantined and so on and so forth. So international trade is going through a very strange period as well. So it's not so easy to say customers are willing to buy, sell them. Yes, try to sell them. But what may not be completely in your control is the supply. Why are people not able to sell toilet paper? Because toilet paper supplies are not abundant. I was trying to order some stuff that I just could not find, basic things like brown basmati rice. And I wanted big bags of it. Couldn't find it on Amazon. They have these little buck bags and they have wild rice, and couldn't find what I was looking for. So even just because there is demand doesn't mean there is supply. So even for e-commerce players who are seeing surge in demand, it's not easy to fulfill that demand. But see what you can do, what you can control. The next thing you can think about is, are customers willing to listen to what problem you solve and what value you add? This is what I talked about earlier about B2B business development. If your customer, you may be able to get mind share from customers right now. So if they're willing to listen to you, develop that relationship in anticipation of times when they would be ready to pull the trigger and buy your product or your service. Then, of course, there are some generic things that you should do. Control costs. Runway needs to be extended. financing would be very hard to close anytime soon. So if you are running out of money and think investors need to come to your rescue, that's going to be hard. The government may have some options. They're trying to do this paycheck protection plan, PPP. So the banks that cater to small businesses are going to be administering that. It's a mess. The banks are not ready to process this level of applications. The SBA is not equipped to produce this level of applications. It's operationally terribly badly done. But they're trying to do their best, and you should look into that. You should look into acquiring whatever credit that you can get from that process. And by the way, I think the directive under which this is happening says that these loans are going to be forgiven as long as you keep your people on your payroll. So you may be able to get what effectively amounts to a grant from the government that helps you tide over this period. Now, of course, the issue is the timeline, right? We're all worried about the timeline. How much runway can you build? The current situation, maybe not in this intensity, but it could continue for 18 months. The economy could be in a deep recession for 2 years. So we have tough times ahead. As entrepreneurs, we have tough times ahead. And we're going to have to navigate those tough times. And the best way to do that is be frugal, control costs. And this is, by the way, the 1 million by 1 million mantra. It has always been the 1 million by 1 million mantra. Bootstrap, bootstrap, bootstrap. Be capital efficient. Don't waste money. That's our culture here. So if you have developed the bad habit of, running your shop on huge amounts of venture capital financing, spending freely, offering 10 brands of bottled water and 10 flavors of bottled water and green tea, ice cream to your employees, that lifestyle is not a good way to run a startup to begin with. So if you have put yourself in that culture mode, you're fund financing and you haven't built your business appropriately, this is the time when you're going to go through a debt by overfunding situation. And I have not a lot of sympathy for you if that's a situation you've put yourself into, because for years and years and years, I have said over and over again, that's a bad way to build a business. Spending too much money is nonsense. Unless you need to spend a lot of money, don't spend a lot of money. And especially do not become addicted to venture capital. A lot of these debt by overfunding scenarios happen because entrepreneurs get addicted to venture capital. And now that addiction is going to come to a scratching halt, because unless you have fundamentals, your VCs are not going to give you more money to continue your lifestyle. So that lifestyle is over. But it's culturally, it's extremely difficult to go from a high spending, swashbuckling lifestyle to a very frugal, no nonsense, capital efficient lifestyle. I don't have that problem because my company is lean. My company is very disciplined. We are extremely frugal, extremely disciplined, extremely no bullshit, no nonsense. So I don't have to make a culture shift. For those of you who have to make a culture shift, you are in for a really, really difficult time. And you better learn something through this process. Should you try to raise money? That depends. Investors are open to pitches from what I see. Are they going to write term sheets readily? No, they won't, probably not. But you have to develop the relationship and go through the pitch process. Again, it's pipeline building, right? You need to talk to the investors, see which ones are interested in your domain. If they're taking meetings, they will take meetings over Zoom. It's a worthwhile exercise to keep building the investor funnel. But having said that, if you've already raised a lot of money and you're not doing well in the market, this is not a scenario where you will be able to raise money. A lot of unhealthy companies are going to go under. And that is a very common Darwinistic process that the venture capital funded startup ecosystem goes through, is if you haven't If you just spent money and not validated your business and not starting to show results, the likelihood that you're going to be able to continue raising money is low. Now, our portfolio of companies are not in that state mostly. We don't work with companies that have raised, hundreds of millions of dollars. We have companies who earlier on were in our program for maybe 1, 2, 3 years and have gone on to raise lots of money, but they're no longer working with us. And I would say the companies that have done that have also delivered. They have maintained a fundamentals-oriented approach, so they should be fine. But on a day-to-day basis, the companies we work with are companies that are early stage companies that have no choice but to be capital efficient at the moment. And so culturally, I don't have a lot of a concern for our companies. I don't believe our companies will have to make this mental shift or cultural shift to stop spending money, because they never had money to spend, that kind of money to spend. They're not flushed with tens of millions of dollars that they can, waste. So I'm actually very proud of the culture in all the companies that we work with. But the market is what it is. Revenue is going to be hard to bring in. Investment is going to be hard to bring in. So we're going to have to be very, very, very diligent and very, very steady. Hiring is something you're going to need to slow down right now. Unless you have skyrocketed demand. I'm sure Zoom is hiring like crazy because Zoom's demand has gone up like crazy. Zoom was a B2B video conferencing system, and now it's exploded into a B2C, use case. All kinds of use cases. My trainer trains me on Zoom. We're doing Zoom coffee sessions and Zoom aperitifs and Zoom glass of wine with Zoom with our friends, family, internationally. So this is massive. People are doing weddings on Zoom. So Zoom is going through an explosion. So they can afford to hire. They should hire. And I'm sure they will have no problem raising money if they need more cash. If they need venture capital, actually Zoom is public now. So sorry, they don't even need venture capital. They can get any amount of loan. Banks will finance them. There's absolutely zero problem for them to get money. So they can hire. But most of the entrepreneurs in our orbit are not in that situation. So you're going to need to probably not hire a lot at the moment. So those are the generic points. More specifically, please come to one of our free public roundtables. That's where we can actually work on your business. These are safe working sessions. You can come and work with me. We are on every week. Absolutely no disruption as long as we're not sick ourselves with the COVID-19. So, I'm probably one of the most accessible people in the startup ecosystem who is willing to work with entrepreneurs around the world. So wherever you are, whatever stage you're in, if you want to talk to me, please come. Please go to the website first, 1mby1m.com. Go to the free public roundtables tab. Go in there and register to pitch or attend. And I hope to see you Thursday morning, either this Thursday or next Thursday or the following one, every Thursday morning at 8 a.m. Pacific. We are online, and I look forward to seeing you then. I will close there, and I will interact with you in the public chat for a bit. Just be extremely careful. Depending on where you are, you know what the situation is in your geography. Keep your family, especially the elderly, safe. And I wish you all the best. I will see you hopefully on Thursday. Bye, everybody. Thank you for coming today.